Disclaimer.
Look at your calendar. Today is Sunday, January 18th, 2026. Most of the world is preparing for a long weekend, oblivious to the fact that the financial architecture they've lived under for 80 years is being dismantled in the dark. Tomorrow, Monday, January 19th, is a federal bank holiday in the United States. Every major branch, Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, will have its doors locked. The wire desks will be silent. The ACH transfers will be pending. But while the public sleeps, the system is performing a hot swap. You've heard the rumors for years about the digital trap. You've watched as they tested FedNow, as they integrated the CBDC pilots, and as they slowly choked the life out of physical cash. Well, the waiting is over. The Sunday night anomaly has begun. Right now, as I record this, the Shanghai Gold Exchange is setting a price for silver that the New York COMEX literally cannot afford to acknowledge. We are seeing a $12 premium per ounce in the East. Spot silver has already shattered the $90 barrier this week, printing record highs, but the physical market has completely decoupled. This isn't just a price difference, it's a physical divorce. In the next 24 hours, the trap snaps shut. They want your silver before the digital dollar officially takes the wheel tomorrow morning. And if you think you can just wait and see what happens on Tuesday, you've already lost the game. Let me show you exactly how this setup was built and why this holiday weekend was chosen as the kill switch for private wealth. The 19th, not a holiday, but a deadline. Why January 19th? In the world of high finance, major structural changes are never done on a Tuesday at 2 p.m. They are done during liquidity gaps. A 3-day weekend is the perfect tactical window. While you are out with your family, the Federal Reserve is finalizing the integration of the Genius Act, guiding, and establishing national innovation for U.S. stablecoins, protocols into the banking backbone. And this isn't just a technical update. For the first time, we are seeing the official bridge between your commercial bank account and the Treasury's programmable ledger. As of January 2026, the FedNow transaction limit has been quietly raised to accommodate institutional-scale liquidity movements, while the retail public is locked out of their local branches. Starting tomorrow, the dollars in your account are no longer just currency. They are becoming digital deposit tokens. But here is the catch they won. T tell you on the evening news, these tokens are programmable. Under the new AML, anti-money laundering, clarity rules, any transaction into non-digital assets, specifically precious metals, is being flagged as a systemic risk. By Monday night, the digital cage will be live. The banks are closed tomorrow, not to honor a legacy, but to prevent a bank run while they flip the switch. If you try to move large amounts of cash today to buy metal, you've likely already hit the liquidity lock. Have you noticed your bank asking more questions lately? Have you noticed the security delays on simple transfers? That wasn't for your protection. It was the calibration of the trap. They are ensuring that the bridge between the digital bank and the physical vault is a one-way street. The Shanghai strike, silver's real price. Revealed while the West is frozen in a holiday trance, the East is awake and hungry. The Shanghai Gold Exchange, SGE, has just reported that silver premiums have hit a historic high, surpassing $12 over the Western spot price. We are no longer talking about $80 silver. We are talking about a physical market that has completely abandoned the paper price discovery of New York and London. For decades, the COMEX used paper contracts to suppress the price. For every 1 ounce of real metal in the vaults, there were hundreds of paper claims. But in 2025, silver surged 140%, and the CME group responded by jacking up silver margins by 47% in a single week. A kill switch, designed to protect bullion banks trapped in massive short positions. On January 7, 2026, they did it again, raising maintenance margins to $3,200 per contract. But the CME's games only work in the West. China has officially ring-fenced its silver supply. As of January 1, 2026, new export restrictions on refined silver have gone into effect. Only state-approved firms can export, and only with specific licenses. This mirrors China's earlier strategy with rare earth metals. They are weaponizing silver supply because they know it is the Achilles heel of the Western financial system. Tomorrow, when U.S. markets are closed, Shanghai traders will have 24 hours of uninterrupted control. They are pushing silver toward the $106 psychological barrier as we speak. When New York traders wake up on Tuesday, they will face a gap up so massive it will trigger forced liquidations for every bank that is short. They are using this holiday to ensure you cannot participate in the rally. They want you locked in the digital dollar while the silver world leaves you behind. The unobtainium reality, industrial consumption. What the mainstream media hides is that the industrial machine has already bypassed the retail market. We are in the 5th consecutive year of a structural supply deficit. In 2025 alone, demand reached 1.24 billion ounces, while total supply, including recycling, was only 1.01 billion. And that's a 230 million ounce gap, roughly the entire annual output of Mexico. Silver is no longer just an investment, it is unobtainium. Companies like Lockheed Martin, who require roughly 500 ounces of silver per missile, and Tesla, whose Model 3s contain about an ounce of silver each, are no longer buying on the open market. They are signing direct mine-to-manufacture off-take agreements, effectively stripping the spot market of liquidity. In 2026, silver intensity in the AI sector has exploded. Data centers, high-frequency sensors, and AI-enabled robotics require silver's unmatched conductivity. Unlike gold, silver is consumed. It is thrown away in electronics because recycling at current prices is still too expensive. At current consumption rates, industrial regions have barely 30 to 45 days of accessible silver reserves. The silver lease rates, the cost to borrow the metal, have spiked to over 50% annualized. This is the signal that the vaults are empty. When the physical landlords take their seats, the paper speculators find there are no chairs left. The immediate threat, the private wealth narrative. But it's not just about price. It's about the legality of exit. In the last 48 hours, we have seen a surge in compliance language from the Treasury regarding unhosted wallets and physical asset transfers. They are laying the groundwork to label private silver trading as high risk or even illegal under emergency national security. Mandates issued just days ago on January 15th. The launch of the digital dollar tomorrow is the final piece of the puzzle. They know that as soon as people realize their digital money has social credit score attached to it, they will run toward silver. So they front-run the exit. They make it unregulated to trade metal outside of a government-approved exchange. They want your silver because they can't print it, they can't delete it, and they can't track it once it's in your safe. If you think your digital bank balance is wealth, you are about to receive a rude awakening. Wealth is only wealth if you can use it without permission. Tomorrow, the permission-based economy becomes the only economy. The tension you feel, that's your intuition telling you the door is closing. Tomorrow, January 19th, 2026, the manual override of the global economy begins. If you're holding paper promises, you are holding the bait in their trap. If you're holding physical silver, you are holding the key to the exit. The mechanism is set. The holiday is the cover. The digital dollar is the cage. I'm going to show you the leaked documents from the LME that prove they've already run out of physical metal. You need to see this evidence before the sun rises tomorrow. We have officially entered the two-price world. For decades, silver stackers spoke about the decoupling of paper and physical as a theoretical black swan event. On this Sunday, January 18th, 2026, it is no longer theory. It is a documented reality. The spot price you see on your phone is a ghost. It is a mathematical settlement figure used by banks to wash paper contracts. It has zero connection to the price required to actually put a 1,000-ounce bar in your hands. Right now, the Shanghai Gold Exchange, SGE, is trading silver at a sustained 12 premium over the New York COMEX. This is the great divorce of 2026. In previous years, an arbitrage gap of even 50 cents would be closed in minutes by high-frequency traders. But today, the gap is widening because you cannot arbitrage what you cannot ship. China's new export licensing regime, which took effect on January 1st, has effectively decapitated the global silver supply chain. The 44 major trading firms in India that recently declared insolvency were not victims of a market crash. They were victims of this gap. They sold paper, promised physical, and when the time came to deliver, they found the vaults empty and the prices in the East unreachable. The Basel IV, Silvergate. Why banks are scrambling. Why is the banking system so desperate to keep you in the digital dollar tomorrow? The answer lies in the Basel IV, CRR3, CRD6. Regulations that officially went into effect this month. These rules have fundamentally rewritten how banks handle unallocated precious metals. Under Basel IV, paper silver, the unallocated stuff that banks like JP Morgan and HSBC have used as a liquidity buffer for years, is now being treated as a high-risk liability rather than a Tier 1 asset. Banks are now required to hold a 72.5% to output floor of capital against their operational risks. Translation: the era of infinite paper silver is over. Banks are being forced to either find real, physical silver to back their books or shut down their silver desks entirely. Leaked internal memos from the London Metal Exchange, LME, suggest that several Category 1 members are currently facing a Tier 1 capital shortfall because they cannot source the physical metal required to offset their paper shorts. They are trapped in a massive short position with silver at $88, while their cost basis is back at $25. They need your silver to settle their debts, They need a price smash to trick retail holders into selling their physical coins back to the authorized dealers so that banks can survive the Basel IV transition. The unobtainium. Industrial exodus. While the retail world watches the charts, the smart money, the industrial titans, has already abandoned the exchanges. This is the industrial exodus of 2026. Companies like Lockheed Martin, Tesla, and Samsung are no longer waiting for COMEX deliveries. They have seen the writing on the wall. COMEX registered inventories are down nearly 70% since 2020, with deliverable metal drained by over 60% in just the last few weeks of December. Internal reports indicate that Lockheed Martin, which requires roughly 500 ounces of silver for every single hypersonic missile, has moved to a direct mine-to-manufacturer model. They are signing 10-year offtake agreements with primary miners in Mexico and Peru at prices significantly above the current spot price. Why would they pay more than spot? Because they know the spot price is a lie. To a defense contractor, $100 silver is a minor cost compared to the risk of a halted production line. Tesla's Elon Musk recently sounded the alarm on X, stating that China's export restrictions could pose a systemic problem for EV production. Tesla is now reportedly stockpiling silver off-market, creating a shadow inventory that never touches the public exchanges. When the biggest buyers in the world stop using the exchange becomes a hall of mirrors. The 15 million ounces of real silver supposedly left in COMEX registered vaults is already spoken for 10 times over by industrial giants who have already paid the premium to cut the line. The margin kill switch. CME Rule 802. On January 13, 2026, the CME Group implemented a percentage-based margin system. For silver, the standard margin is now 9% of the notional value. With silver at roughly $88, a single 5,000-ounce contract now requires a staggering $39,850 in initial margin. This is the kill switch in action. By raising margins 47% in a single week, the exchange is intentionally flushing out the small traders and the silver squeeze retail crowd. They want to ensure that only the big houses can afford to play. This is casino mechanics 101. When the house starts to lose, they raise the table minimums until the winners are forced to leave. But here is the proof of the desperation. Despite these massive margin hikes, the price refuses to stay down. In previous cycles, a 47% margin hike would have sent silver screaming back down to its 200-day moving average. In 2026, silver laughed at the $75 support level and surged back toward $90 within 48 hours. This tells us that the selling is coming from weak paper hands, but the buying is coming from strong physical hands who don't care about margin because they aren't using leverage, they are using cash to take delivery. The 1933 comparison, the digital confiscation protocol. We must address the elephant in the room, the mandatory conversion clauses hidden in your bank's new user agreement for 2026. Under the guise of modernizing financial services, many major banks have inserted language that allows them to settle alternative asset accounts, like your silver-backed IRA or paper metal accounts, in digital deposit tokens at the fair market value during a market disruption event. This is 1933 all over again, but with a digital twist. In 1933, they needed your gold to devalue the dollar and print more money. In 2026, they need your silver because it is the fuel for the fourth industrial revolution, AI, solar, EVs, and they cannot afford to let the common people own the fuel. If the price of silver hits $200, the digital cage of the CBDC becomes irrelevant because anyone with a bag of silver coins has a parallel economy. The government doesn't want your small potatoes because they are broke. They want them because ownership is autonomy. By launching the digital dollar tomorrow, they are creating a world where every transaction is permissioned. Physical silver is the only asset that allows for permissionless wealth. The trap is forcing you to trade your permissionless silver for their permissioned tokens before the price gaps up on Tuesday morning and makes silver permanently unaffordable for the 99%. The mathematical inevitability, silver versus the CBDC supply. Let's look at the cold, hard numbers. The Silver Institute reports that 2025 was the fifth consecutive year of a structural deficit, with a cumulative shortfall of nearly 820 million ounces. To put that in perspective, that is the entire annual output of Mexico, the world's largest producer, disappeared from global inventories. If the projected CBDC money supply, M2 equivalent, is fully launched tomorrow, the silver to dollar ratio suggests a valuation that makes $106 look like a bargain. When you calculate the total digital deposit tokens being created against the 22,000 tons of silver remaining in London vaults, the math points to a revaluation towards $600 per ounce, just to reach historical equilibrium. The banks know this math. JP Morgan's Greg Shearer recently called for mean reversion pressure, but Gen S translation is simple. They are begging you to stop buying so they can cover their shorts at $70 before the market realizes the vaults are empty. They are playing a game of whack-a-mole with the paper price, but the physical landlords have already taken all the seats in the room. Final warning: the Sunday night soft default. As we sit here on Sunday night, reports are surfacing of soft defaults in the private wholesale markets. This is when a supplier informs a buyer that while they have the cash, the metal is simply not available for delivery at this time. These defaults don't make the front page of the Wall Street Journal. They happen in private emails between refiners and industrial users. The $12 premium is the smoke. The soft default is the fire. Tomorrow, the digital cage closes. If you are still holding paper promises or digital silver tokens on an exchange, you are part of the bail-in. You are the liquidity they will use to save themselves. The first promise of 2026 has already been broken. The vaults are retching. Tomorrow the world finds out that the silver door is locked from the inside. We have moved past the why and the how. Now we must face the what. As the sun sets on this Sunday, January 18th, 2026, we are staring at a mathematical inevitability that no central bank, no algorithm, and no emergency decree can erase. We are talking about the calculated equilibrium of silver. For over a century, the price of silver was determined by price discovery, the meeting of a buyer and a seller on an exchange. But tomorrow, when the digital dollar, CBDC, officially becomes the backbone of the U.S. financial system, price discovery dies. It is replaced by value realignment. Think about the numbers. The Federal Reserve has quietly expanded the M2 digital supply by 22% in the last 18 months to facilitate the CBDC rollout. Simultaneously, physical silver inventories in the LBMA and COMEX have hit their lowest levels since the 1970s. When you divide the trillions of new digital tokens by the measly 800 million ounces of available silver, the math doesn't give you 30. It doesn't even give you 106. It gives you a number closer to $645 per ounce. Why $106? Because $106 is the breaking point. In the internal models used by the bullion banks, the same models leaked during the Silvergate scandal of late 2025, $106 is the price at which the short interest exceeds the total capital of the world as four largest clearing banks. At $106, the banks don't just lose money, they cease to exist. That is why they are fighting so hard to keep the lid on tonight. They aren't fighting for a price, they are fighting for their lives. The sovereignty algorithm, surviving the 48-hour gap. Tomorrow, Monday, January 19th, is the silent day. The U.S. markets are closed, but the world is moving. This is where you must apply the sovereignty algorithm. Step 1, disconnect from the paper narrative. Between now and Tuesday morning, the mainstream media will attempt to flood the airwaves with stability rhetoric. They will tell you the digital dollar is secure, fast, and stable. They will ignore the $12 premium in Shanghai. Do not fall for the calm before the storm. Step 2, audit your physical proximity. If you do not have your metal within arm's reach by the time the markets open on Tuesday, you may find that your allocated storage account has been temporarily suspended for audit. We saw this happen in the London nickel crash of 2022, and we saw it in the Zurich gold freeze of 2025. In a systemic event, the first thing they lock is the exit door. If your silver is in a vaulting program that requires a digital login, you are at the mercy of the kill switch we discussed in Chapter 1. Step 3, the barter calibration. In the next 48 hours, stop thinking of silver in terms of dollars. Start thinking of it in terms of purchasing power units. At 106 SARS, 1 ounce of silver will buy roughly 200 gallons of gasoline or 6 months of basic groceries in 2026 inflation terms. When the dollar goes digital, it becomes leaky. It loses value by design to force you to spend it. Silver is the battery that holds your labor. Every ounce you hold is a power cell that the government cannot drain. The Black Tuesday forecast, January 20th, 2026. Let's talk about what happens the moment the opening bell rings on Tuesday. This is the climax of the trap. While the U.S. was honoring a holiday on Monday, the Shanghai Gold Exchange remained open. If the current trend holds, Shanghai will push the price to $100 or $105 during the Sunday-Monday sessions. This creates a massive opening gap. New York traders will wake up to a market that is already 15 higher than where it closed on Friday. This gap will trigger CME Rule 802. The margin calls will be instantaneous. Every hedge fund and bullion bank that is short silver will be forced to buy back their positions at any price to close their books. This is the inflection point. The paper shorts will be fighting each other to buy the very few ounces available on the exchange. By $10 a.m. EST on Tuesday, the ask price for physical silver at major retailers will vanish. You will see out of stock across every website from AppMex to SD Bullion. The spot price might say $110, but the buy price will be call for quote. And when you call, they will tell you they aren't selling, they are only buying. This is the moment silver becomes unobtainium. You aren't just watching a price spike, you are watching a market go dark. The CBDC bait and switch. The final warning. As the price of silver screams toward triple digits on Tuesday, the government will move to the final phase of the 2026 trap, the voluntary surrender. They will offer a special exchange rate. They will say, look, silver is at an all-time high of $120. If you bring your illegal private silver to a government-approved center, we will give you $150 in digital deposit tokens, CBDC, per ounce. This is the ultimate bait. They will offer you a bonus to trade your physical sovereignty for their digital serfdom. They want you to think you've won the silver trade by taking a 20% premium in digital credits. But remember the math. If they are willing to give you $150 in digital tokens, it means the silver is actually worth $600. They are trying to buy back the exit keys to their own prison. If you take the digital bonus, you are voluntarily walking back into the cage. You are trading an asset that has no counterparty risk for a token that can be deleted with a keystroke if your social carbon score drops too low. Do not trade your atoms for their bits. Living sovereign wealth. Conclusion. We are standing at the edge of the greatest wealth transfer in human history. It is not a transfer from the poor to the rich, but from the unaware to the prepared. The banks have spent decades and billions of dollars to convince you that silver is a relic, a pet rock, or a volatile commodity. They did this so they could accumulate it for pennies while you chased digital memes and paper stocks. But in the quiet of this Sunday night, the truth is laid bare. The vaults are empty. The digital dollar is here, and the physical world is reasserting its dominance. Your silver is not just an investment. It is your declaration of independence. It is the only thing that stands between you and a future where every meal you eat and every mile you drive is approved by a central bank algorithm. The calculation is clear. Supply is gone. Demand is industrial and inelastic. The paper price is a lie. The digital dollar is the trap. The climax is coming tomorrow night. As the Shanghai markets open in a few hours, the physical divorce becomes final. When the sun rises on Tuesday, the world will be divided into two classes. Those who have claims on wealth, paper and digital, and those who possess actual wealth. Final instructions for the silent Monday. Seal your positions. If you're planning to buy, your last window is the gray market tonight. By tomorrow afternoon, the premiums will make it prohibitive. Secure your data. Print out your records. Do not rely on cloud access to prove what you own. In a digital reset, the first thing that glitches is your proof of ownership. Stay silent. As the price hits $106 and beyond, you will be tempted to tell everyone you were right. Don't. In a world of digital confiscation and economic desperation, your physical wealth is a target. Become the invisible sovereign. The trap is set. The holiday is the shroud. The digital dollar is the hook. But for those who hold the medal, the 19th of January 2026 isn't a day of fear. It is the day of liberation. I have done my part. I have shown you the math. I have shown you the evidence. I have shown you the trap. The rest is up to you. Watch the Shanghai Open tonight at 8 p.m. EST. That is when the first shot of the Silver War is fired. I will be here on Tuesday morning to survey the wreckage of the paper markets. Stay physical, stay sovereign, and for God's sake, stay out of the trap.